Hi there, my name is Jack, and I work with the education team here at Robotify. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you all for joining us today, and I'll be delighted to show off our platform. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can teach programming and robotics without needing to know how to code yourself. It's coding made simple with Robotify. Let's get started. So let's start from the beginning and talk about the platform. First, let's log in. All you need to log in is a username and a password, or else you can use one of our single sign-on options. Now that you've logged into your account, you'll be greeted by our course catalog page, which displays most of our learning opportunities for students. Here you'll be able to view and access all of our courses, ranging from Axel's Mars Adventure all the way down to our mini courses. Next, we have our projects page. Here, we give users the opportunity to create their own coding adventure. They can create projects within any of our Robotify environments, all at the click of a button. This is a great way for students to continue their learning after finishing a course. This then brings us to Roboduo. Here, users can put their coding skills to the test and compete with their friends and their classmates in a variety of different games. Now that we've run through our offerings for the students, we can talk about how this ties into what you, the educator, can do. I'm going to move on to our Classroom Hub now, where you'll be able to see how you can manage your classroom on the Robotify platform. Here, you can integrate your classroom by syncing from one of our offerings, or you can add them manually. Once your classroom is in the system, it couldn't be easier to manage it. You can add students to your classroom, you can unenroll them, and you can reset passwords, all from the same dashboard. When it comes to student behavior on the platform, you can see how your students are doing at any given time. All you need to do is look at the Student Analytics tab. You can see their attempts at tasks along with the recommended solutions, so you can help them if they're stuck. Next, we get to what I feel like is the most important part of our Classroom Hub, the Educator resources. We spend a lot of time making sure that our courses have the best possible Educator resources to accompany them. We cover everything, including full lesson plans and even slides with speaker notes. Everything here is geared towards the educator in the hope that we can give them the best possible experience with Robotify in the classroom. The last thing I'd like to talk about in our Classroom Hub is our designated tab for professional development. Here we have our Robotify Educator Fundamentals course. This course aims to give the educator a full introduction to the Robotify platform and how they can use it in their classroom. We will continue to keep our professional development tab up to date so that we can always guarantee that our educators can get the most out of Robotify. Now, the main idea behind this presentation is for me to show off how you can use Robotify in your classroom without necessarily knowing how to code yourself. I think the best way for me to do this is by running through some of the tasks and showing off our educator resources. Here, we have Axel's Mars Adventure. This is our flagship course, which is aimed at students who are brand new to coding. We've recently released the final 120 tasks of Axel's Mars Adventure, meaning that we now have a full year's worth of curriculum with Axel. I'm going to start from the beginning and show off how you might run your classroom with Axel. I'm going to take an example from lessons about if statements and show how you can teach this yourself. Before we open up the course, we can go and open up the educator resources and see how we'll run this course. Once this introduction is done, it's now time to move on to the actual Robotify platform. Now, what you see here is our student learning view, where the actual coding is done. In the top right of the screen, you can see our simulation engine. In the bottom right, you can see our terminal. Along the bottom of the screen is our instructions bar, and this main area is our workspace. This is where the blocks will go. The instructions down the bottom will guide the student through the tasks. They'll teach them more about these new concepts by showing them in action. The aim of these tasks is to encourage the students to use these new concepts in different ways. Let's do some tasks, shall we? We start by looking at the lesson plans and reading through the learning goal. Now, this learning goal is something that we want to keep in mind through the whole lesson. And we scroll down to the initial part of the lesson, which is going to be a piece with the teacher and the students, nothing to do with the platform, but it breaks it down here in terms of a review and an introduction. In this review, you're encouraged to engage the classroom and review the particular concepts that were learned in the previous lesson. This is always a great way to start off a lesson. Next, there's an introduction, and this kind of ties into the slides, which I can show you here. Now, these slides have speaker notes, which you can see down the bottom, These are here to help provide descriptions of the new concepts and just to help you explain these to the students. And it also has visual images to help students understand it. Now it's time to jump into the actual tasks. So to start, we're going to go and read the instructions down the bottom of the page. The readings from the trees seem to have led Axel to a forest. Source must be close. Good thing Axel has their scanning arm attached. Now, what this sort of thing is tying to is like a narrative that has been running through the whole lesson. So this is really to help with engagement with students. We go to the next instruction. Can you program Axel to get to the source of the reading so they can be scanned in more detail? So it's clear here by the environment where Axel needs to go. We can see there's more instructions. It's saying to use the if obstacle is 1 meter ahead block from the sensing drawer. So the students will be able to get the is one obstacle 1 meter ahead block. They'll have a bit of an understanding of what this does thanks to the pre-given lesson. And they can then get a little bit of instructions about what this block does and how that kind of ties into what they knew beforehand. So we'll now go and do the task. We can see that there is an obstacle 1 meter ahead. So what's Axel going to have to do? He's going to have to turn. He's going to have to turn left. And then he's going to have to move forward in order to make it to this circle which was defined here. So let's go and do that. Let's go on green. And Axel's completed the task. Task complete, you've written 4 lines of code. So we can continue now to the next task. And again, there's more instructions down the bottom. Readings are strange. Axel's going to have to scan more of those artifacts in order to obtain some more accurate data. Can you program Axel to get to the artifact using the if obstacle is 1 meter ahead block? So again, this is, you can see in the workspace there's some loops. These loops have been explained and worked with in depth in all the previous lessons, so the student will have a great understanding of these already. So what we can say is, we need to use the is obstacle 1 meter ahead block. So if there's an obstacle ahead, we can just bin this. If there's an obstacle ahead, we know that we need to turn left. So we can turn left a quarter turn. And if otherwise we want to move forward, so we can move forward by 1. And we can just kind of watch the tasks, view the simulation and see how it goes. Oh. Again, the circle's going green and we've got the task correct. Again, you can see why this is how this is student-led in this particular sense, because there's the narrative, there's the explanations. This is all given to the students. They don't need the help. If they do struggle, that can all be done through the teacher dashboard, which I'll show you now in a minute. So again, Axel only seems to be able to get a little bit of data from each artifact. You're going to need to program Axel to find more. Can you program Axel to get the artifact using the if else? You can see how this is kind of repetitive in that it's hammering down on trying to make them understand this block. And as the tasks go on, they get more worked. They will go and instead of using an is obstacle ahead block, they'll start introducing booleans. And it kind of goes on as the lesson goes on. And this is all stuff that has been introduced previously, but it's also explained as they go. The blocks are explained and the application is then seen. So I really think this is a nice way of kind of showing off how to do it. I think I'll jump out of this now and I will show you what to do if there's a student that's struggling. If any student is facing issues on a particular task, if you go to the Classroom Hub and you go to the Student Analytics tab, you'll be able to view each student's progress and you'll be able to see their attempted solutions as well as a recommended solution. So you could go around and always help the students. You could also change their progress if they really needed to get past a particular task. So another thing that I'd like to note is that our teacher resources also contain details towards differentiation. So you can customize your student learning as you see fit. For example, we can see here that students who struggle with this activity may benefit from direct teacher troubleshooting related to challenges which students are finding difficult to compete, focus on leading questions towards a solution. Again, similarly with students who find this easier can act as peer troubleshooters. And look, what I've done here is just gone through a quick example of how you can use Robotify in your classroom, but you could also adapt this structure to fit your own style. This learning experience then perfectly ties into our Roboduo Compete offerings. Here we have Axle Tag, a fun coding game that really integrates with the learning experience. This game is made up of two robots playing a friendly game of tag. The code here is made up of the same tools as some of the later Axle content, so it really transitions well from the courses. It's just a simple game of tag as well. It's easy for anyone to play. This is only the beginning of Roboduo. We have lots of exciting games coming very shortly, so be sure to keep your eye out. Now, the last thing that I'd like to talk about here is Python. Python is one of the most popular programming languages out there, with applications everywhere from data science to artificial intelligence. At Robotify, we feel that Python is part of the future of programming, and we're currently developing our own Python fundamentals course, so you can start teaching Python in your classroom with Robotify. This course is being built with not just the student in mind, but also the educator. So this course will be teachable by those with no background in computer science or robotics.
Welcome back. I hope you all enjoyed the demo of the Robotified platform and can see how easy it is to teach coding and robotics in your classroom. So I saw a few of you asking some questions there during the demo, and hopefully Jack is going to be able to answer your questions here today. So I have Jack here, Jack O'Reilly, our product manager. So welcome, Jack.
Thanks for having me.
So look, first question from Paul in the chat. What computer science standards are being hit with this content?
So when we've built a lot of our content here at Robotified, the main things that we kind of look for is to hit CSTA standards. They're the kind of core ones, and a lot of the countries can be adapted from those standards. So particularly with Axle, we've hit CSTA level 1, and we also aim to hit CSTA level 2 with our upcoming releases as well. And as well, there's such standards as the English National System, so Key Stage 1 and 2, 1, 2, and 3, in fact, that we're trying to hit also.
Fantastic, that's fantastic. So another question here from Sophie. As a parent, can I monitor my child's performance?
Sophie, yeah, you can monitor your child's performance. We have systems in place for that, and just setting up an account with us, you'll be able to monitor, see how your students are getting on. I hope you saw in the demo there that how the teachers monitor their students' progress, and the parents is very similar.
Fantastic. A question here from Linus. Do the lessons make sense if I don't use the exact lesson plans?
That is a very good question, Linus. So these courses were built and in a very kind of dynamic way. So the lesson plans are built as suggestions. So yes, you can run your lessons in your classrooms that way if you want, but you can also see what we try to do in each of these courses. So if you want to put your own lesson plans in place and place that, you want to create your own slides, you want to create your own worksheets, teach it in your own way, it's completely up to you.
Fantastic. Question here from Samuel. What's the difference between Robotify and Roboduo?
That's funny. So I know I talked a bit about Roboduo in the demo there, but Roboduo lives under the Robotify platform. It's part of us. It's underneath the umbrella. So Roboduo, I know I talked about it before, but it is where coding meets esports. It's the Robotify platform for playing games, coding, and it is a lot of fun. Whereas Robotify, well, that's us, isn't it? It's learning, competing, and creating. It's not just one part of that.
Fantastic. So speaking of these, I suppose, games, James asked, can I run coding competitions in my classroom?
James, James, you can run coding competitions in your classroom. It's a lot of fun. Each of our Roboduo offerings have, there's join codes and there's shareable links. So it's very easy for you to create competitions in your own classroom, run them however you want, get the kids engaged, and just have a lot of fun.
Fantastic. I suppose, as the expert on this topic, one of the major things that we start to look at is what our favorite parts are. We obviously work in Robotify, and a fantastic question here from Morris. What's your favorite area of the Robotify platform?
So for me, that one's easy. I love competition myself. Adam knows this very well. And I know we've talked about it a bit in this Q&A, but Roboduo is by far my favorite part of the platform. I love putting my skills to the test. Internally, we have a lot of fun, and it's just, I think that's the best way that I learn as well. I'll throw that back to you, Adam. What do you think is your favorite part of the Robotify platform?
Axle.
Axle?
Yeah, every Axle mission, the feeling of being on Mars, the feeling of being able to control Axle around the red planet is for me, my favorite part, but I suppose I love the competition part as well. Just as well as that, some great engagement in Katie's booth, the Roboduo booth that's live now. What are some new games that are coming?
I know I talked about Python in the demo there, but this is a big part of where we're going in the future, and we have some big things coming in the Roboduo space and the competition space with Python offerings. We have one particular game that is, I know I've tested, I think you've tested as well, and that is the next big thing. I think you'll be hearing something about that very soon.
We'll keep that to ourselves for now.
Yeah.
So another question here, it's a fantastic question from Sophie. Does my child need to download anything to use the platform?
Sophie, your child does not have to download a single thing to use the platform. I think that's one of my favorite parts about Robotify as well. I don't know if I didn't say it there, but everything is in browser. Browser-based simulation, everything can be loaded. All you need is a device that has that supports an internet connection, which these days is everything.
And a fantastic kind of educator-focused question to hear from Samuel in the comments. How much programming experience do I need to teach using Robotify?
So these are some really good questions, aren't they?
Fantastic.
So Samuel, realistically, of course, it always helps to have some sort of computer science background, but overall, like, these were built with the idea that anybody could teach them. So if you stayed one lesson ahead, did a little bit of work into it, and you had no experience, you could completely understand what was going on, be able to teach it at a very good level.
And the professional development.
And the professional development tool as well. So I know, again, I talked about it, that we teach all our educators how to use the platform, what everything is, how it works, and that's all available through the teacher dashboard. And one thing as well, I know I mentioned Python. Going forward, one of the core goals in our new Python, Introduction to Python course, is that it's accessible for all teachers, no matter what their background.
I think that might be a little bit of an announcement that we might not have spoken about before. So, just to share with the audience, Robotify for so long has trying to excel at block-based programming, and now we've just recently taken our first plunge, I suppose, into text-based, and we should have some exciting news to share around the potential of bringing Python in a very, a very fun way to the Robotify
Sorry
platform.
for ruining the surprise there.
No, it's all good. A great question here from Ross in the comments. Are there any official Roboduo competitions?
Official Roboduo competitions? There are. We have partnerships with a few different organizations, and we run competitions with them. There are multiple different backgrounds, and look, they're a lot of fun. You can find the sign-ups, you can find them attached in our social medias, but I'd encourage you to go and have a look. And I feel like there'll be more coming soon as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, good question here from Shauna. What languages does Robotify support?
So Robotify, we want to make our platform as accessible as possible to everybody, no matter where they're from. So right now, we have offerings in English, Spanish, French, Japanese, and Korean. And that's across the entire platform. So you'll be able to have your full coding adventure in any of those languages.
Fantastic. That's great for our global audience that we have in Robotify and the global user base. So that's fantastic. So great question from Sal. It's something that we actually speak about a lot in Robotify and try to encourage. What sort of projects can I do with Robotify?
Projects. So projects are so open-ended that I love them. You can kind of just do whatever you want. So let's say you're in the drawing environment and you want to draw a little picture. That's something very simple. Or in the case of Roboduo, you would like to go and practice, or your teachers told you that you want to go and try something. Like, let's say, create an algorithm to search and find a trip in the game Axel tag that we've talked about. Your teacher can actually set up a base and is able to share it with you as well. You're able to share coding projects. You're able to fork and create your own versions of them. You can kind of do whatever you want. It's a very open-ended tool. Nice way to continue your learning.
So one of the big things during the pandemic, that I suppose went missing was the ability for teachers to be able to keep an eye on what their students were actually working through, the progress that they were making in a classroom. So James asks, can the teacher view any more student analytics?
So right now, the main analytics form is what I showed you there. So we're able to view student activity in terms of what their solutions are, their attempted solutions, what they're trying, see if they got it right, see if they got it wrong. I know we do intend to improve this to add more, because the teacher is so valuable to us. We want to make it the best sort of opportunity for them to see how their kids are getting on, really just engage with the platform. So I don't know, watch this space.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. So look, obviously lots of great questions for the community. Obviously we're want to get through as many as we can. Just a couple of ones just to finish up with for today's session. So I think a very good one that I picked out here, which, you know, I suppose we've kind of touched on already from Morris. What's the next big thing going to Robotify?
The next big thing. Well, I ruined the surprise for that one earlier, I think. Our Introduction to Python coding course, I think, is going to be the next huge thing coming to Robotify. And that tying in with the game that we hinted at as well. I know we're giving away a lot of surprises at this event, unfortunately. But look, the next big thing's Python, 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 whether that be through learning or competing and then creating.
That's fantastic. It's an exciting time at Robotify. Jack, thank you very much for your session today. Thanks everyone for sending in your questions, but unfortunately that's all we have time for today. You can send over any more questions you have to hello@robotify.com. Thank you.
Now you can see how easy it is to teach coding and robotics in your classroom. So why not start your coding journey with us today? Register for your free trial in the link below. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us at hello@robotify.com. Thank you.